I'm super happy to have the title here in Wuhan. It's been an incredible week and incredible 3 weeks that I've had in China in general.
How Coco Gauff made twice as much as Sabalenka. At just 21 years old, Coco Gauff had just defeated another seeded player, Sabalenka, at the French Open to become a global sports icon.
Coco Gauff under siege. Mother's fiery defense, 12-word clapback, and ranking disaster before Australian summer. The tennis world just exploded, and if you weren't paying attention, you missed the moment that will define the start of 2026. Right now, as champagne bottles pop and New Year's resolutions are being broken around the globe, one of America's brightest stars is facing her darkest hour. Coco Gauff, the prodigy who captured hearts at Wimbledon as a 15-year-old, the warrior who hoisted the U.S. Open trophy above her head, the champion who made an entire generation believe in dreams again, is under attack. The critics have sharpened their knives, the trolls have crawled out from under their bridges, and the vultures are circling, waiting for her to fall. But here's what they forgot. Coco Gauff doesn't stand alone. Behind every great champion is a fortress of support, and this week, that fortress fought back with a vengeance that left the internet in absolute shambles. Coco Gauff, the woman who has sat silently in the player's box for years, watching her daughter rise through triumph and tragedy, finally broke her silence. This wasn't a polite statement. This wasn't corporate damage control. This was a mother who looked at the world and said enough is enough. For those who think being a tennis parent is about showing up to matches with a nice outfit and clapping at the right moments, Candy just gave you a reality check that will sting for months. She pulled back the curtain on what it actually takes to build a champion, and it's not pretty. It's not glamorous. It's sacrifice that would break most people before breakfast. Candy spoke about the mornings that started in darkness, when other families were still asleep and dreaming. The Gauff household was already in motion. 5 in the morning practices weren't occasional. They were routine. They were religion. She talked about the birthdays that went uncelebrated because there was a tournament across the country, the school dances that were missed because conditioning couldn't wait, the friendships that faded because while other teenagers were discovering themselves at parties and football games, Coco was discovering how to hit a forehand winner down the line under pressure that would crush grown adults. This is the part that keyboard warriors don't understand. They see the highlights. They see the trophy presentations. They see the endorsement deals and the magazine covers, and they think it came easy. They think it was luck or genetics or media hype. Candy made it brutally clear that every single ounce of success her daughter has achieved was paid for in sweat, tears, and time that can never be recovered. She didn't raise a celebrity. She raised a warrior. And warriors don't crumble when the masses turn against them. They sharpen their swords and prepare for battle. The internet went silent. For a moment, the trolls had nothing to say. The critics paused. Everyone was waiting for Coco's response. Would she match her mother's energy? Would she unleash years of pent-up frustration on the people who have questioned her ranking, her coaching changes, her mental toughness, her serve, her forehand, her everything? The anticipation was suffocating. And then it happened. 12 words. Just 12 words that detonated like a bomb across social media. Coco Gauff posted a message so simple, so perfectly calibrated, that it instantly became one of the most powerful statements of her career. I know who I am. I know where I am going. Watch. That was it. No paragraphs. No explanations. No defensive arguments trying to convince anyone of her worth. Just pure, distilled confidence. It was the verbal equivalent of dropping the microphone and walking off stage while the crowd is still processing what just happened. Think about the restraint that took. In a world that rewards outrage and rewards volume, Coco chose precision. She could have written an essay. She could have named names. She could have clapped back at every critic individually with receipts and screenshots and statistics. Instead, she gave them 12 words that said everything. I know who I am. That's self-awareness. I know where I am going. That's vision. Watch. That's a promise. Or maybe it's a threat. Either way, it's checkmate. The brilliant thing about her response is that it's completely unarguable. You can't debate someone's self-knowledge. You can't tell them they're wrong about where they're headed. All you can do is exactly what she commanded. Watch. And oh, the world will be watching now more than ever. But while the internet was busy analyzing those 12 words like they were ancient hieroglyphics, Coco was already on a plane. Because unlike the people criticizing her from their couches, she doesn't have time to engage in digital warfare. She has actual warfare to wage. The 2026 season is here, and it's coming in hot with the United Cup in Perth, Australia. This isn't some minor warm-up event. This is where Coco made history last year, going completely undefeated in singles and leading Team USA to glory. She took down IGA Swiatek in the final in straight sets, reminding everyone why she's one of the most dangerous competitors on the planet when she's locked in. Team USA is counting on her again. She's partnered with Taylor Fritz, and together they're leading the charge in Group A against Spain and Argentina. The tournament starts January 3rd, and Coco isn't wasting any second of preparation time. While other players are sleeping off their New Year's celebrations, she's already in Perth grinding. She's skipping the beaches. She's skipping the tourist attractions. She told reporters that representing your country brings massive pressure, but having a team environment actually takes some of that weight off her shoulders. It allows her to fight not just for herself, but for something bigger. Taylor Fritz knows exactly what kind of teammate he has. He's been vocal about how reassuring it is to know that Coco will always deliver her part. He joked about hoping they don't have to rely on mixed doubles there. The talent is obviously there. Everything is set up for Coco to begin 2026 exactly how she ended 2025, as a champion. But here's where the story takes a twist that nobody saw coming. A twist so perfectly timed, so cruelly ironic, that it feels like a scriptwriter for a sports drama came up with it. Just as Coco is preparing to defend her United Cup title and silence her critics with her racket, the rankings have delivered a devastating blow. Coco Gauff is no longer the world number 3. She's been overtaken by fellow American Amanda Anisimova, and the way it happened is almost absurd. Let me explain the brutal mathematics at play here. The tennis calendar is a strange beast, and sometimes the timing of point drops creates scenarios that feel deeply unfair. Because the 2026 season is starting slightly later than usual, the points from last year's United Cup are being removed before this year's event begins. Normally, players have a chance to defend their points at the same tournament before losing them. Not this time. Coco went undefeated at the United Cup last year, which means she earned a massive 500 ranking points. Those 500 points just vanished into thin air before she even stepped onto the court in Perth. Amanda Anisimova, meanwhile, lost in the first round of the Auckland tournament last year, so she's only dropping a handful of points. The result? Anisimova sits at 6,287 points. Coco drops to 6,273. The difference between number 3 and number 4 in the world right now is 14 points. 14. You could earn that in a single match at a lower-tier tournament. It's the slimmest of margins, and yet it changes everything. Now, some people might say rankings are just numbers, that they don't matter as long as you're winning tournaments. Those people have never competed at the elite level. Rankings determine seedings. Seedings determine draws. Draws determine whether you face the defending champion in the third round or the quarterfinals. Rankings affect confidence, perception, sponsorship bonuses, and legacy. Coco arriving in Perth as the world number 4 instead of number 3 isn't just a technicality. It's a statement that someone else is ahead of her, even if just barely. And let's talk about that someone else. Amanda Anisimova's story is one of the most remarkable in recent tennis history. Just 2 years ago, she was ranked 370 in the world after taking an extended break from the sport to prioritize her mental health. She walked away from tennis when many thought she'd never return to elite form. The pressure had become unbearable. The expectations had crushed her spirit. But she did the hardest thing an athlete can do. She chose herself over the sport. She chose healing over titles. Her comeback has been nothing short of miraculous. In 2025, Anisimova reached the finals at both Wimbledon and the US Open. She won 2 WTA 1000 titles in Qatar and China, defeating some of the biggest names in tennis along the way. She's healthy, confident, and playing the best tennis of her life. The fire that once burned her out has been rekindled into something sustainable and dangerous. She's not just back. She's better than she ever was. So now we have 2 American women at the absolute peak of the sport, separated by 14 ranking points, both entering the Australian summer with completely different narratives. Coco is the embattled champion trying to prove the doubters wrong and reclaim her position. Amanda is the comeback queen riding a wave of momentum and belief. Both are hungry. Both are talented beyond measure. Both know that January could define the trajectory of their entire year. The pressure on Coco is immense. She has to defend those 500 points at the United Cup, which means anything less than another championship run will see her ranking drop further. Meanwhile, Anisimova has almost nothing to defend and everything to gain. Every match Coco plays in Perth is now loaded with extra significance. It's not just about winning for Team USA. It's about personal survival in the rankings. It's about sending a message to Anisimova, to the critics, to herself. And hovering above this American Civil War are the two women who have dominated women's tennis for the past few years. Aryna Sabalenka and Iga Swiatek sit comfortably at numbers 1 and 2, watching the battle for third place unfold beneath them. They know that whoever emerges from this American showdown will be coming for them next. The top of women's tennis has never been more competitive, more unpredictable, or more thrilling. What makes this moment even more compelling is the contrast in how Coco and Amanda have handled adversity. Amanda stepped away from tennis entirely to heal. Coco has chosen to fight through every storm publicly, to use the criticism as fuel, to let the world watch her struggle and grow. There's no right or wrong approach. Both paths require immense courage. But the collision of these two philosophies, these two journeys, on the court in the coming weeks is going to be must-watch television. Coco's 12-word declaration keeps echoing. Watch. Okay, Coco, we're watching. The entire tennis world is watching. Your mother just reminded everyone what it took to get you here. You just reminded everyone that you know exactly where you're going. Now it's time to prove it. The United Cup starts in days. The Australian Open follows shortly after. This is your moment to turn the narrative, to silence the noise, to climb back to number 3 and set your sights even higher. The beauty of sports is that talk eventually has to stop. Tweets don't win matches. Instagram posts don't earn ranking points. At some point, you have to step between the lines and prove who you are. Coco Gauff has proven herself time and time again throughout her young career. She's won majors. She's beaten the best players on the planet. She's carried the weight of expectations since she was barely old enough to drive. But sports have a short memory, and the question is always the same. What have you done lately? This is Coco's chance to answer that question with authority, to show that the US Open title wasn't a fluke, to show that the critics were wrong, to show that her mother's faith was justified, to show that those 12 words weren't just confidence, but prophecy. The stage is set. The opponents are ready. The rankings are in flux. Everything is on the line. Welcome to 2026, where the drama started before the calendar even flipped, where a mother's love became a weapon, where 12 words became a war cry, where rankings shifted before a ball was struck. This is going to be a year for the ages, and Coco Gauff is right at the center of it all. Some people crumble under that kind of pressure. Champions, they thrive in it. So here's what you need to do right now. Drop a comment below and tell me what you think. Was Candy Gauff right to defend her daughter so publicly? Or should she have let Coco fight her own battles? Do you think those 12 words from Coco were the perfect response? Or should she have said more? Who do you think finishes January as the top-ranked American, Coco Gauff or Amanda Anisimova? And most importantly, who's winning the Australian Open? I want to hear your predictions, your hot takes, your bold claims. Let's get a conversation going in the comments because this is the kind of story that deserves debate. If you're not already subscribed to this channel, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single update as this saga unfolds. We're going to be covering every match, every press conference, every ranking change, every dramatic moment of the United Cup and the Australian Open. This is the place for the deepest analysis and the most entertaining breakdowns in tennis. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Smash that like button if you're Team Coco and you believe she's going to prove everyone wrong. Or maybe you're Team Amanda and you think the comeback story continues. Either way, let me know where you stand. Share this video with your tennis-loving friends because they need to be caught up on what's happening right now. The new year is here, and the tennis world is already on fire. This is just the beginning. The matches haven't even started yet, and we already have enough drama to fill an entire season. Imagine what's going to happen when these athletes actually start competing. When Coco steps onto the court in Perth with the weight of her mother's words, her own promise, and a ranking to reclaim. When Anisimova looks across the net knowing she's finally back where she belongs, ready to prove she's not just surviving, but dominating. When these two American stars potentially collide with everything on the line, the scoreboard doesn't lie. The rankings don't care about your feelings. The critics will always find something to complain about. But champions? Champions let their rackets do the talking. And Coco Gauff just told the world to watch. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Get your popcorn ready, clear your schedule for early January, and prepare for a tennis season that's starting with more explosions than a fireworks show. This is going to be legendary, and we're all here for it. See you in the next one, where we'll break down every single match as it happens. Let's go?